I think I just nuked my entire family in one sentence, and I genuinely don't know if I was wrong or not. Hey everyone, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow, and drop your city in the comments. I'm curious where you're all watching from. So here's what happened. I'm Emma, 28F, and my brother Marcus, 35IM, has always been my dad's golden child. Like, obnoxiously so. My whole life, Dad would brag about Marcus, his successful career, his perfect wife, his 2 kids, how he carried on the family name. Meanwhile, I got the standard, "that's nice, dear," treatment whenever I achieved anything. Medical school? Dad showed up late to my graduation because he had to help Marcus move furniture. My wedding? Dad spent half his speech talking about Marcus's marriage 3 years earlier. You get the picture. It stung, sure, but I learned to live with it. Marcus was the favorite. That was just how it was. But something always felt off. Marcus looks nothing like Dad. Dad's got this thick, dark hair. Well, had. He's graying now. Olive skin, and these intense brown eyes. Marcus is pale, has light eyes, sandy hair. I always figured he took after Mom's side, even though Mom has dark features too. Weird genetics, you know. Plus, Marcus was born just 7 months after my parents got married, which I only figured out last year when I was helping Mom organize old photos and saw the wedding date versus his birth certificate that was randomly in the same box. The real bomb dropped about 3 months ago. Mom got diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. It's been devastating, but she's still lucid most of the time. One afternoon, I was at her place helping her sort through decades of paperwork for the estate planning. Dad wanted everything in order in case she declined faster than expected. We were going through an old filing cabinet in the basement when I found a letter. It was from a guy named David Torres, dated about 36 years ago. The letter was intense. He was begging my mom to let him be part of his son's life. He wrote about how much he loved her, how he understood she'd chosen to stay with my dad, but that he couldn't stop thinking about our boy. He'd even included a photo, him holding a baby that looked exactly like infant Marcus from the pictures I'd seen my entire life. I just stared at it. My hands were shaking. I looked up at Mom, and she'd gone completely white. "Emma, that's not," she started, but then she just trailed off. She looked at me with these terrified eyes and whispered, "Please don't tell your father." That's when I knew. "Dad doesn't know Marcus isn't his?" I asked. She started crying, like full-on sobbing. Through the tears, she told me everything. She and Dad had gotten together in college, but they'd broken up for about 6 months during their junior year. During that time, she'd dated David Torres, a grad student. They were apparently crazy about each other, but when he graduated, he got a job offer across the country. She didn't want to leave her family, so they broke up. She got back together with Dad, but about 2 months later, she realized she was pregnant. She panicked and told my dad the baby was his. He proposed immediately because that's what you did back then, according to her. David found out somehow and tried to be involved, but Mom shut him down. She told him she was marrying Dad and that he needed to stay away. She said it was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but she made her choice. For 35 years, my dad raised Marcus believing he was his biological son, and Marcus had no idea either. I didn't know what to do with this information. I was angry at Mom, at the situation, at the unfairness of it all. But I didn't say anything. Not right away. I needed time to process. I made Mom promise that she'd tell Dad herself eventually. She said she would, but I could tell she was terrified. Weeks passed. Thanksgiving came and went. Mom didn't say anything. Every family gathering, I'd watch Dad fawn over Marcus, and I'd feel this growing resentment. My whole childhood made sense now. Maybe on some subconscious level, Dad always knew something was off and overcompensated by making Marcus the favorite to convince himself otherwise. Or maybe he was just an ass who happened to prefer his son. Either way, it was based on a massive lie. Then came Christmas Eve. We always do a big dinner at my parents' house. The whole family, me, my husband Jake, 31M, Marcus and his wife Ashley, 33F. Their kids, Sophie 7F and Michael 9M, Mom and Dad. It should have been nice. It wasn't. Dinner started normally enough. Dad was in a great mood, talking about his recent golf games. But then, inevitably, the conversation turned to Marcus. Dad started going on and on about how proud he was of Marcus's promotion at work, how he'd always known Marcus would be successful, how Marcus had inherited his drive and intelligence. "Must be in the genes," Dad said, raising his wine glass. "My father was the same way. It skips a generation sometimes, but it always comes through in the men of this family." I felt something snap inside me. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was 35 years of being second place. Maybe it was the injustice of watching my dad celebrate a legacy that didn't even exist. I opened my mouth, and the words just came out. "That's funny, because Marcus didn't inherit your genes at all." The table went silent. Like, you could hear the Christmas music playing in the other room level of silent. Jake grabbed my hand under the table, hard. I could feel him trying to silently communicate, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." But I couldn't stop. Dad laughed, but it was confused. "What are you talking about, Em?" "Marcus isn't your son," I said, looking right at him. "Mom had an affair?" "Well, not an affair exactly. You two were broken up. But she got pregnant by someone else and told you it was yours. David Torres is Marcus's real father." I don't think I'll ever forget the look on my dad's face. It was like I'd physically struck him. All the color drained away. He looked at Mom, and she'd started crying, silent tears just streaming down her face. She didn't deny it. That was the confirmation. "Is this true?" Dad's voice was barely a whisper. Mom nodded. "Robert, 35 years, Dad said, and his voice cracked. 35 goddamn years, Patricia." Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell over. "What the fuck, Emma?" He was screaming. Like, full volume screaming. The kids started crying. Ashley was trying to calm them down while also staring at me like I was some kind of monster. "Are you seriously doing this right now? At Christmas? What the hell is wrong with you?" Marcus was shaking, his face bright red. "Even if that's true, and I don't believe it, you just destroyed our family for what? Because you're jealous? Because Dad was proud of me?" "I'm not jealous," I said, but my voice sounded weak even to my own ears. He deserves to know the truth." "The truth?" Marcus laughed, but it was harsh, bitter. "The truth is you're a vindictive bitch who just ruined Christmas because you couldn't stand not being the center of attention for one meal." "Marcus, that's enough," Dad said, but there was no force behind it. He was still staring at Mom like he didn't recognize her. Mom was sobbing now, trying to explain, but Dad just held up his hand. "Stop. Just stop." He stood up slowly, like he'd aged 20 years in 5 minutes. I can't be here right now." He walked out. Just left his own house in the middle of Christmas Eve dinner. We heard his car start and then he was gone. The aftermath was chaos. Ashley was crying now too, comforting the kids and also trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Marcus kept switching between yelling at me and yelling at Mom, demanding to know if it was true, if his entire life was a lie. Mom couldn't even form sentences anymore. Jake finally pulled me aside. "We need to leave. Now." His voice was tight with anger, not at the situation, but at me for how I'd handled it. We grabbed our coats and left. The drive home was silent. When we got home, my phone was already blowing up. Messages from Marcus, from Ashley, even from my aunt, who Mom had apparently called immediately after we left. All of them saying some version of the same thing. How could I do this? What was wrong with me? I'd destroyed the family. I was selfish and cruel and vindictive. The only person who didn't message me was Dad. He still hasn't. That was 6 days ago. Since then, I've gotten more details from various family members. Dad's staying at a hotel. He's apparently contacted a lawyer, though I don't know if that's for a divorce or to figure out the Marcus situation legally. Marcus got a DNA test, one of those rapid ones, and it confirmed I was right. He's not Dad's biological son. He's not talking to Mom or me. Ashley posted something cryptic on Facebook about family betrayal that I'm pretty sure is directed at me. The kids' Christmas was ruined. Mom called me yesterday finally. She was eerily calm, which scared me more than the crying. "Your father won't speak to me," she said. "Marcus won't speak to me. They're both gone, Emma. 35 years of family and it's gone. Because of you." "Because of you," I shot back. "You're the one who lied for 35 years. I just told the truth." "You told the truth to hurt people," she said. "There's a difference. You knew what would happen and you did it anyway. Not because it was right, but because you were angry." Maybe she's right. I don't know. I keep replaying it in my mind. Did Dad deserve to know? Yes. Did Marcus deserve to know? Probably. But did they deserve to find out like that on Christmas Eve in front of the whole family? Did I do it because it was the right thing to do, or because some part of me wanted to knock Marcus off his pedestal? Wanted to make Dad see that his golden child wasn't who he thought he was? Jake says I should have handled it differently, that I should have gone to Mom first, given her an ultimatum to tell them herself by a certain date. That there were 1,000 better ways to reveal something like this. He says, I let my hurt and resentment control me, and now everyone's hurt worse. My best friend Sarah says I did the right thing, that Dad had a right to know, and Mom never would have told him on her own. That Marcus needed to know his real heritage, for medical reasons if nothing else. That I shouldn't feel guilty for telling the truth. But I do feel guilty, not for the truth itself, but for how it came out. For ruining Christmas, for hurting Dad. Even though he was never the father to me that he was to Marcus, I never wanted to see him look so broken. For watching my nephews cry in confusion. For the look on Marcus's face. Though part of me, and I hate admitting this, part of me felt satisfaction in that moment. Watching the golden child's world crumble. Watching Dad realize the son he'd chosen over me wasn't even his. That makes me sound like a villain, doesn't it? I don't know what happens now. I don't know if my family can recover from this. I don't know if Dad will forgive Mom, or Marcus, or me. I don't know if Marcus will ever speak to me again. I don't even know if I want him to. So Reddit, tell me, AITA for revealing my brother isn't my dad's son at Christmas dinner? The week after Christmas was when things went from bad to catastrophic. I spent the first 2 days in a weird state of denial, like maybe if I just didn't check my phone, the whole thing would blow over. It didn't. On December 27th, I woke up to 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. Jake had to physically take my phone from me because I was spiraling, reading every single hateful message over and over. The messages fell into categories. First, there were the family members calling me every name in the book: selfish, jealous, vindictive, cruel. My cousin Rachel wrote an entire essay about how I'd weaponized the truth to destroy innocent people. My Uncle Tom, who I haven't spoken to in 3 years, somehow felt qualified to tell me I was a disgrace to the family name. Even distant relatives I barely knew were weighing in, all united in their hatred of what I'd done. Then there were the people taking sides, asking for my version of events like this was some kind of he said, she said situation instead of just facts. They wanted to know why I'd done it, what Mom had actually said, whether I had proof. I sent the photo of David Torres holding baby Marcus to my Aunt Linda, who demanded evidence. She stopped responding after that. The third category was the worst. Messages from people who agreed with me but wanted me to know I'd handled it wrong. These were somehow more infuriating than the outright attacks. You were right to tell them, but not like that. They deserved to know, just not at Christmas. As if there was a good time to detonate a nuclear bomb in the middle of your family. Jake's been supportive but strained. He keeps saying things like, "I understand why you did it," followed by long silences that make it clear he doesn't. Not really. 2 nights ago, we had our first real fight about it. He said I'd been holding on to resentment for so long that I couldn't see straight anymore, that I'd let my anger make the decision for me. I told him he didn't get it, that he'd never been the unfavorite child, never watched his sibling get everything while he got scraps. He said that was exactly his point. I was so caught up in old wounds that I'd inflicted new ones on everyone, including kids who had nothing to do with any of it. That shut me up, because he was right about Sophie and Michael. They didn't deserve what happened. 3 days after Christmas, I got a call from Ashley. I almost didn't answer, but morbid curiosity won. She was remarkably calm, which scared me. "I'm calling to tell you that you're not welcome around our children anymore," she said, her voice flat. "What you did, exposing something like that in front of them, was cruel and inappropriate. Sophie's been having nightmares. Michael keeps asking if Grandpa Robert still loves him. You don't get to be Aunt Emma anymore." I tried to apologize, to explain, but she cut me off. "I don't care about your explanations. Marcus is devastated. He's questioning his entire identity, his entire life. His relationship with both his parents is destroyed. And for what? So you could have your moment? So you could finally be the center of attention?" She hung up before I could respond. That one hurt. Not because Ashley and I were close. We weren't. But because she was right about the kids. I hadn't thought about how it would affect them. In my mind, I was exposing a lie to the adults who deserved to know. I didn't consider that 2 children would watch their grandfather walk out, watch their grandmother sob, watch their father have a complete breakdown. On December 29th, Marcus finally reached out. Not to talk, to send me the DNA test results. 0% probability of paternity between him and Dad. Then 3 words, "Hope you're happy." I stared at that message for an hour. Was I happy? No. But was there a tiny dark part of me that felt vindicated? That felt like finally, Marcus wasn't the golden child anymore? Yeah, there was. And that made me feel like a monster. The same day I got a message from Dad. First contact in almost a week. Just, "I need to talk to you. Coffee tomorrow?" I said yes immediately. I'd been desperate to hear from him, to explain, to apologize, to something. Anything was better than the silence. We met at a diner halfway between our houses. Dad looked like he'd aged a decade. Hollow eyes, unshaven, rumpled clothes. He ordered black coffee and didn't touch it. For a long time, he just sat there staring at the table. "Did you know before Christmas?" he finally asked. "I found out in September," I admitted. "I found a letter in Mom's things. From Marcus's biological father. September." He said it like he was testing the weight of the word. "You knew for 3 months." I told Mom she needed to tell you. I gave her time. You gave her time. His voice got sharp. Emma, this wasn't your secret to tell. This was between me and your mother. You had no right. That took me by surprise. You deserve to know. You spent 35 years raising someone else's kid, being lied to. I spent 35 years raising my son. He interrupted, and his voice cracked. Do you think a DNA test changes that? Marcus is my boy. I was there when he was born. I taught him to ride a bike. I sat through every baseball game, every school play, every goddamn parent-teacher conference. That's what makes someone a father, not biology. I felt tears starting. But Mom lied to you. Yes, she did. And that's between me and her. But you... He finally looked up at me, and the disappointment in his eyes was worse than anger. You didn't do this because I deserved to know. You did it because you were angry. At me, at Marcus, at the whole situation. And instead of dealing with that like an adult, you dropped a bomb on Christmas Eve and walked away. That's not... I didn't mean... Do you know where Marcus is right now? He's in therapy. He's having a complete identity crisis. He's questioning every memory, every relationship. Ashley says he barely sleeps. He keeps asking if I still love him, if I ever really loved him. My son, and he is my son, is falling apart, Emma. I'm sorry, I whispered. I didn't think... No, you didn't. You didn't think about Marcus, or me, or your mother, or those kids. You thought about you, about how unfair things were for you. And maybe they were. Maybe I was a shitty father to you, but that didn't give you the right to destroy everything. He stood up to leave. I grabbed his arm. Dad, please, can we fix this? Can I fix this? He pulled away gently. I don't know, Emma. I honestly don't know. Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the diner. I sat there crying for probably 20 minutes before the waitress came over and quietly asked if I was okay. I wasn't, but I said yes and left. New Year's Eve was silent. No party invitations from family, not that I expected any. Jake and I stayed home. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Your father served me with divorce papers today. 36 years of marriage. Gone. I hope the truth was worth it. I threw up. Literally ran to the bathroom and threw up. Jake found me on the bathroom floor and held me while I sobbed. This wasn't what I wanted. I never wanted them to get divorced. I just wanted... What? Justice? Recognition? For someone to acknowledge that I'd been treated unfairly my whole life? And now I'd achieved that by making everything infinitely worse. The next day, my Aunt Linda called. She was one of the few family members who hadn't completely turned on me, though she definitely didn't approve of how I'd handled things. Your mother's in bad shape, she told me. With the Alzheimer's diagnosis and now the divorce, Emma, I'm worried about her. She's talking about how she's lost everything. She did this to herself, I said, but it sounded weak. Did she? Or did you do it to her? Linda's voice was sharp. Yes, she lied. Yes, that was wrong. But you chose when and how that lie came to light. You chose Christmas Eve. You chose to do it in front of everyone. You can't put all of this on her. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. She was right. On January the 2nd, I tried calling Marcus. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Marcus, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for things to happen like this. I was angry and I made a terrible decision. You didn't deserve that. Please, can we talk? He never called back. Instead, I got a text from Ashley the next day. Marcus asked me to tell you that he has nothing to say to you. He doesn't want your apologies. He wants you to leave him alone. He's trying to figure out who he is without you making it worse. That's when it really hit me. I might have permanently lost my brother, my only sibling, because of one sentence at Christmas dinner. Yesterday, I found out through the family grapevine that Marcus reached out to David Torres, his biological father. Apparently, they're planning to meet next week. Part of me thinks that's good. Marcus deserves to know where he came from. But another part of me wonders if Dad knows, and how that must feel. To watch the son you raised for 35 years seek out the man who contributed DNA but nothing else. I also learned that Dad's definitely going through with the divorce. He's moved out of the hotel and into a small apartment. He told Aunt Linda that he can't even look at Patricia without feeling betrayed. Mom's apparently not doing well, forgetting things more often, mixing up dates and names. Linda thinks the stress is accelerating her condition. And me? I'm sitting here in my house, alienated from most of my family, with a strained marriage and the growing realization that I might be the villain in this story. Jake keeps asking me if I regret it. I don't know how to answer that. Do I regret the method? Absolutely. Do I regret that the truth came out? I don't think so. Dad deserved to know. Marcus deserved to know. But did they deserve to find out the way they did? No, definitely not. The worst part is the voices in my head. Sometimes it's my voice saying, "You did the right thing. They needed to know. Mom would never have told them." Other times it's Dad's voice saying, "This wasn't your secret to tell." And then there's this other voice, quieter but more honest, that says, "You wanted to hurt them, and you did." I've started seeing a therapist. First appointment was yesterday. She asked me why I thought I'd done it really. I gave her all my justifications, the favoritism, the lying, the right to truth. She listened and then said, "But why on Christmas Eve? Why in front of everyone? What did you hope would happen?" I couldn't answer. Or maybe I could, but I didn't want to admit it out loud. That some part of me wanted to watch it all burn. That some part of me felt like if I couldn't have a happy family, why should anyone else? That sounds psychotic, even writing it now. 3 family members have reached out to say they understand why I did it, even if they don't agree with how. My cousin Sarah said, "Your mom put you in an impossible position. She should have told them years ago." My Aunt Jennifer said, "Your dad was always hard on you and easy on Marcus. I saw it. This doesn't excuse what you did, but I get why you were angry." But understanding isn't the same as forgiveness. And 3 people out of an extended family of 20 plus isn't exactly winning numbers. The most unexpected response came from my maternal grandmother, who's 90 and usually stays out of drama. She called me 2 days ago. "Emma, dear, I've lived a long time, and I've learned that sometimes the truth causes more pain than the lie. That doesn't mean the lie was right. It just means the truth is complicated. What your mother did was wrong. What you did was also wrong. 2 wrongs rarely make anything right. But you're still my granddaughter, and I still love you, even when you make terrible choices." I cried when she said that. It was the first time someone acknowledged that both things could be true, that Mom was wrong and I was wrong. So here I am, 2 weeks after the worst Christmas in history. My parents are getting divorced. My brother won't speak to me. My nibblings think I'm a villain. My extended family has mostly turned on me. My marriage is strained. My mother's Alzheimer's might be getting worse from the stress. And I'm left wondering, when does telling the truth become the wrong thing to do? Sarah, my best friend, still insists I did nothing wrong. "They would have found out eventually," she says. "Better from you than from some DNA test website 5 years from now." But would it be better? At least then it wouldn't have been my fault. I keep replaying it. If I could go back, what would I do differently? Would I have stayed quiet? Would I have given Mom an ultimatum with a firm deadline? Would I have told Dad privately? I don't know. The anger I felt in that moment was real. The years of being overlooked were real. The injustice of watching Dad celebrate a legacy that didn't exist was real. But so is the fallout. So is the hurt I've caused. And here's the thing nobody wants to hear. I'm still angry. Even after all this, even knowing what it cost, there's a part of me that's still angry that I grew up as the backup child. That Marcus got all the love and attention I deserved. That Mom's lie facilitated 35 years of favoritism. That Dad never questioned why he treated us so differently. Does that make me irredeemable? Does acknowledging that I'm still carrying that hurt mean I haven't learned anything? My therapist says anger isn't the problem. What you do with it is. Well, I weaponized mine. I turned it into a grenade and threw it into the middle of Christmas dinner. And now I'm standing in the rubble wondering if there's any way to rebuild. Jake asked me last night if I'd do it again, knowing everything I know now. I still don't have an answer. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to Who's the Villain for more stories that'll make you question everything. It's been 2 months since Christmas, 2 months since I destroyed my family with 7 words, and I need to tell you how this ends, or doesn't end, because I'm not sure there's a neat resolution to something like this. The worst part about catastrophic mistakes is that life keeps going. You still have to wake up, go to work, eat meals, exist. But you exist in this altered reality where everything you knew has fundamentally changed. January was hell. Pure, unfiltered hell. The divorce between Mom and Dad moved forward with brutal efficiency. Dad wasn't interested in dragging it out. He just wanted it done. 36 years of marriage dissolved in 6 weeks. They split assets, sold the house, and that was that. No big drama, no court battles, just 2 people who couldn't stand to be in the same room anymore. Mom's Alzheimer's has noticeably worsened. Her doctor confirmed what Aunt Linda suspected. The stress absolutely accelerated her decline. She forgets conversations we had yesterday. She sometimes calls me by her sister's name. Last week, she asked me when Marcus was coming over for dinner, completely forgetting that he's cut off contact with her. When I gently reminded her, she looked confused, then devastated, like she was reliving the loss all over again. That might be the cruelest consequence of all. She has to rediscover what she's lost every few days. She's living with Aunt Linda now. Dad refused to keep caring for her after the divorce, which I understand but still hurts to witness. Linda says Mom cries a lot. Sometimes she remembers why. Sometimes she just knows she's lost something important but can't remember what. I visit her twice a week. It's penance, maybe. Or maybe it's just that she's still my mother, despite everything. During her clearer moments, she doesn't want to talk about what happened. We just sit together, sometimes in silence, sometimes discussing safer topics like the weather or old recipes. But occasionally, she'll look at me with total clarity and say things like, "I made a terrible mistake, but you made one too. We both hurt people we love." She's right. I know she's right. Marcus met David Torres in mid-January. I only know this because Ashley posted a photo on her private Instagram. I'm blocked, but our cousin Rachel showed me. Marcus and this stranger who shares his DNA sitting across from each other at a coffee shop. Marcus looked nervous, hopeful, lost. According to Rachel, who got the details from Ashley, the meeting went okay. Not great, not terrible, just okay. David had wanted to be in Marcus's life but respected Mom's wishes. He'd married, had 2 other kids. Marcus has half-siblings he never knew about. He followed Marcus's life from a distance when he could, seeing occasional photos Mom's friends would post online. He'd watched his son grow up through a screen, never able to reach out. Marcus is apparently seeing him regularly now, building a relationship with his biological father and these new siblings. Part of me, the petty hurt part, wants to be angry about that. But mostly I just feel sad. Sad that it took my explosion for Marcus to know where he came from. Sad that Dad, who raised him, has been replaced. Sad that there are no good guys in this story. Speaking of Dad, we've met for coffee 4 times since that first meeting. It's stilted and painful, but he keeps showing up, which I take as a good sign. He's in therapy too. We don't talk about Marcus much. Mostly we talk about me, about my childhood, about things I felt and never said. 3 weeks ago, Dad said something that broke me. I know I wasn't fair to you. I've been thinking about it a lot. Marcus was easy. He was athletic, outgoing, confident. You were sensitive and bookish, and I didn't know what to do with that. That's not an excuse. I failed you as a father. But Emma, and his voice got hard here, you're not a child anymore. You had a choice in how to handle your hurt, and you chose destruction. I couldn't argue with that. But then he said, I'm trying to understand why. And I'm trying to forgive you. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. Can you try to forgive me too? I'm trying. God, I'm trying. The relationship between Dad and Marcus is complicated. Marcus told Rachel, who told me, that he feels like he doesn't know who he is anymore. He spent his whole life being Robert's son, the golden child, the one who inherited the family drive. Finding out that was all based on a lie shattered something fundamental in his identity. He's angry at Mom, obviously, but he's also angry at Dad for making him feel like he had to be perfect. Angry at me for blowing up his life without warning. Angry at David Torres for not fighting harder to be in his life. Mostly, I think he's angry at himself for not seeing the signs, even though there was no way he could have known. Dad and Marcus are in family therapy together. That's something, at least. Dad insists that biology doesn't change 35 years of being a father. Marcus is struggling to believe that. He keeps asking questions like, did you ever really love me? And, were you overcompensating because you subconsciously knew? Dad swears he had no idea, that his love was real, that Marcus is and always will be his son. I don't know if Marcus believes him. I'm not sure I'd believe it either, in his position. Ashley finally let me see the kids last week. It was supervised. She stayed in the room the whole time, and brief, only an hour. Sophie and Michael were polite but distant. They called me Emma, not Aunt. Emma. That hurt more than I expected. Michael, who's 9, asked me point blank, "Why did you make Grandpa sad?" I didn't have a good answer. I said, I made a bad choice. I told the truth, but I did it in a way that hurt people. I'm very sorry. Mommy says sorry doesn't fix everything, Sophie added. She's 7 years old, and already knows that some things can't be repaired. Your mommy's right, I told her. Sorry doesn't fix everything, but it's still important to say it when you've done something wrong. I don't know if I'll see them again. Ashley was non-committal when I asked. The extended family has largely split into factions. About a third won't speak to me. They've decided I'm the villain of this story, and that's that. Another third is cautiously neutral. They'll be civil at family events, but we're not close. The final third has varying degrees of understanding, though even they think I handled it terribly. My cousin Rachel, surprisingly, has become one of my few allies. She told me 2 weeks ago, "What your mom did was incredibly wrong. What you did was also wrong, but I understand why you snapped. I watched your dad favor Marcus your whole life. That doesn't make what you did right, but it makes it human. Human. That's probably the best I can hope for, that people see my mistake as human rather than monstrous. Jake and I almost separated in January. We had a massive fight where he said he didn't know if he could stay married to someone who nukes their whole family in a fit of anger. That woke me up. I realized I was about to lose my marriage on top of everything else. We're in couples therapy now, working through it. Jake says he's committed to the marriage, but that I have to commit to managing my anger and resentment better. He's right. I've spent 30 years carrying hurt, and instead of processing it healthily, I turned it into a weapon. My therapist asked me last week, if you could go back, what would you do differently? I've thought about that question a lot. Here's what I came up with. I would have confronted Mom first, given her a firm deadline to tell Dad and Marcus herself. 2 weeks, maybe a month. If she didn't do it, I would have told Dad privately, sat him down, showed him the letter, let him process it away from an audience. Then he could decide how to tell Marcus, how to handle Mom, all of it. I would have given them agency instead of taking it away, but I didn't do that, and I can't undo it. Here's what I've learned through all of this. Truth isn't inherently good. The truth can destroy. It can heal, yes, but it can also shatter people. Timing matters, method matters, intention matters. I had the truth on my side, but I weaponized it. That makes all the difference. I've also learned that being the unfavored child doesn't give you carte blanche to hurt people. My pain was real. The favoritism was real. But that didn't justify what I did. Two things can be true at once. I was wronged, and I did wrong. Marcus sent me a text yesterday, first direct contact in 2 months. It said, I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be. But my therapist says I should at least tell you how I feel. So here it is. You didn't just reveal a secret. You took away my entire sense of self. Every memory I have is tainted now. Every moment with Dad, I wonder if it was real. You did that. You chose to do that in the cruelest way possible. I hope it was worth it. Then, after a long pause, another text. But I also know Mom lied. And I know Dad favored me. And I'm sorry you went through that. Doesn't excuse what you did. But I'm sorry anyway. I read those texts probably 50 times. I don't know if this is the beginning of reconciliation or just Marcus getting closure. Either way, it's more than I deserve. So where does that leave me? I've lost my brother, at least for now. Maybe forever. My relationship with my father is fragile, held together by therapy sessions and careful conversations. My mother is disappearing into Alzheimer's, and I have to live with knowing I made her last coherent years miserable. My nibblings think I'm the person who hurt their family. Half my extended family has written me off, but I'm still here, still married, still employed, still breathing. Some days that feels like more than I deserve. Other days it feels like too little, like I should have lost more for what I did. The question everyone asks is, do I regret it? The answer is complicated. I regret how I did it. Absolutely, without question. That was cruel and unnecessary. I regret the pain I caused Dad, Marcus, the kids, even Mom. I regret that I let 30 years of hurt culminate in 30 seconds of destruction. But do I regret that the truth came out? I don't know. Dad deserved to know he'd been lied to for 35 years. Marcus deserved to know his biological heritage. Those truths matter. But maybe some truths should stay buried. Maybe the damage they cause outweighs the principle of honesty. My grandmother, The one who called me and said two wrongs don't make a right, told me something else in that conversation. Emma, you're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. The people you hurt will heal or they won't, but that's not in your control anymore. All you can control is who you become after this. Don't let this mistake define you. Learn from it. Be better. That's all any of us can do. I'm trying to be better. I'm in therapy. I'm working on my anger. I'm learning to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of lashing out. I'm trying to rebuild what can be rebuilt and accept what can't be. Some things are broken beyond repair. The family we had before Christmas Eve is gone. We can't go back to that, even if we wanted to. But maybe, and this is a big maybe, we can build something new, something more honest, even if it's more fragile. Something based on who we actually are instead of who we pretended to be. Or maybe I'm deluding myself. Maybe I destroyed something that can never be rebuilt. Maybe I'm the villain in a story that doesn't get a redemption arc. I think about David Torres sometimes, the man who loved my mother and lost his son, who spent 35 years wondering about the child he never got to raise. In another version of this story, maybe I'm the hero who reunited a father with his son. But that's not how heroes operate. Heroes don't detonate bombs at Christmas dinner. The hardest part is the uncertainty, not knowing if Marcus will ever really forgive me, not knowing if my relationship with Dad will ever be more than cordial, not knowing if I'm rebuilding or just rearranging rubble, but I'm trying. Every day I wake up and try to be someone who could be forgiven. Someone who learns from catastrophic mistakes. Someone who handles anger better. Someone who thinks before she speaks. Someone who considers consequences. Some days I succeed. Some days I fail. But I keep trying. So that's my answer, Reddit. Am I the asshole? Yes. Unequivocally yes. I had the truth, but I wielded it like a weapon. I was hurt, but I responded by hurting everyone around me. I wanted justice, but what I really wanted was revenge. Does understanding why I did it make it better? No. Does having legitimate grievances about my childhood excuse it? No. Did my family have serious problems that needed to be addressed? Yes. Did I address them in literally the worst way possible? Also yes. I destroyed my family's Christmas. I accelerated my mother's Alzheimer's. I gave my brother an identity crisis. I broke my father's heart. I traumatized my nibblings. And I did it all in one impulsive moment fueled by 30 years of resentment. So yeah, I'm the asshole, the villain, the cautionary tale about what happens when you let bitterness consume you. When you prioritize being right over being kind, when you choose the nuclear option because you're tired of being hurt. But I'm also trying to be more than that, trying to be someone who made a terrible mistake and is working to be better, trying to be someone who broke things and is learning how to carefully, painstakingly piece together what little can be saved. Will it be enough? I don't know. Ask me in a year, or 5 years, or never, because maybe there is no enough when you've done what I did. All I know is this. If you're sitting on a secret like this, don't do what I did. Don't let anger make your decisions. Don't weaponize truth. Don't destroy people to make yourself feel better. It's not worth it. The momentary satisfaction evaporates, and you're left with rubble and regret. Talk to a therapist. Give ultimatums. Handle it with care and privacy and compassion. Give people dignity in the face of difficult truths. Do literally anything except what I did. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about being the villain. You have to live with yourself afterward. And that's harder than living with anyone else's judgment. So rate me. Tell me I'm the worst. Tell me I'm a 10/10 on the asshole scale. You're right. I know you're right. But if you've got advice on how to come back from something like this, how to rebuild from rubble, I'm listening. I'm finally, actually listening. Thanks for following this story on Who's the Villain? AITA. If you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a number from 0 to 10 rating me on the asshole scale in the comments and let me know, is there redemption after something like this, or are some mistakes permanent? I genuinely want to know what you think. Let me know your city too. Curious where everyone's watching from.